So I kept notebooks of all my ideas of what other creatures on Tatooine ought to be like and filled those up, but it was just for my entertainment. I didn't think of that as a career. And it was in 1995. I was finishing up my PhD in archaeology. I had a few months and I realized I could take that time and I could go try to visit the locations in Tunisia, North Africa, where the first Star Wars movie had been filmed. The desert planet of Tatooine, all the locations had been filmed in this country of Tunisia. And I had learned about that on the back of the gum cards. That was my source for information all those years ago, because again, there's no internet and there's no GPS. And I called Lucasfilm to see if they would give me any information about where those locations were. And to my astonishment, I found that they could not give me that information because it was lost. There's no GPS. A wilderness location is very difficult to keep track of in those days, and Lucasfilm explained there was no reason to keep track of the exact details of how many miles down this dirt track before you turn left on this rocky road that leads into whatever canyon might not even have a name. So all of the Star Wars sites, except the key ones like Luke Skywalker's home, they knew where that was. Everything else was a mystery. And they said, if you want to find those, you'll have to find them yourself. Well, I was an archaeologist. I had been working in Egypt learning how to find things in the desert. So the challenge was, could I trace the movements of a film crew from 1976, only 20 years earlier, with no other information? It was 6 different kinds of treasure hunt all across this country. Each one, there were reasons that people thought that would just never work. Nobody had ever done anything like it. No one went to movie locations back in those days. It was unknown. My expedition changed the way that people engage with movies they love. I showed people that this is a way to be closer to whatever it is the artwork is that inspires you. So it was an amazingly successful expedition, much more successful than I expected, because when I got there, I didn't just find the locations where Ben Kenobi rescues Luke Skywalker, or where the Tusken Raiders attack, or where Luke Skywalker is standing watching the sunset. I didn't just find those locations. I found that there had been props abandoned in the desert for 20 years. The Tunisians, who had had pieces of their homes dressed up as Star Wars sets, liked the decor that the Star Wars crew had added, and they just said, leave it, we'll keep it. And so 20 years later, the pieces decorating Luke Skywalker's home were still part of that underground dwelling. I found the door of the cantina. The cantina is the bar with all the crazy aliens where the heroes go and meet Han Solo for the first time. And at the door of the cantina, there are 3 Jawas sacked out in front of a little door. I found that door. It's the largest surviving set piece from the original Star Wars movie. That door had been repurposed. When I found it, it was being used as the door of a chicken coop. It was an Oscar-winning Star Wars set decoration, but in Tunisia, it was nothing but a door for a chicken coop. So the expedition was to find locations. I never planned to find props. I never planned to find pieces of the sets still in place. But that's what I found. I found more Star Wars than I ever imagined would be possible.